Okay, a very warm welcome. After a short lunch break, I had to actually fight my way through bears and dragons to get to the stage. I would like to welcome our culture partner, Green Culture Partner Slovenia, for the next session. And I've asked the question if bears and dragons are going to be part of the session. I had no yes and no as an answer, so we'll have to see. It might be actually a surprise. So our green panel of Slovenia is going to be a session on a country that makes us green, that makes you green. That's what the title suggests. It's a wonderful continuation from our last panel discussion on climate change and other things we're doing to the planet's surface, and maybe a possible solution from a wonderful destination in the context of tourism development. A country that in 10 years made a giant green transformation and developed a unique model of sustainable tourism. Sustainable tourism is very close to my heart. I teach that myself at university, and I'm really looking forward to Slovenia's suggestions, recommendations, and solutions. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Bergant to the stage to tell us a little bit about the panel session and maybe introduce some of our distinguished guests. And I'll hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holzapfel. Dobrodošli, that's the Slovenian way of saying welcome, willkommen. So the path towards sustainability in the heart of Europe was not an easy one. So Slovenia is a country that from ancient times has served as the fastest route from the Pannonian Plain across the Alps and the Karst to the Mediterranean Sea. And Slovenia is today, as Mr. Holzapfel has said, recognized as a leading destination in sustainable tourism. We would like to share our experience and plans with you here today. Pies with homemade honey came all the way from Slovenia to Berlin to start this event in a very sweet way, and we go on with it, with sweetness, of course. I'm honored to invite on stage the CEO, or as we say in Slovenia, the director of the Slovenian Tourist Board, Ms. Maja, to begin sharing with you the story about green Slovenia. Please, Ms. Pak.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the panel of Slovenian experts. In the next hour, we will debate on how to embrace sustainability as the concept of long-term thinking and everyday acting. Slovenia, the green heart of Europe and one of the leading sustainability forces in tourism, is proud to be this year's convention and culture partner at ITB. Slovenia makes you green is our inspirational message at the tourism event of the year. We will share with you what it takes to become sustainable with a top-down and bottom-up approach. Our transformation from a nice country in the heart of Europe to the world's first green destination didn't happen overnight, but was the result of many years of strategic decision-making. Today, our vision of 100% green Slovenia is supported with a unique model of sustainability practice. It is my great pleasure to present the third most forested country in Europe, one of the richest in terms of waters, surrounded by a country where, wherever you look, a country with more than 60% of our nature protected, a country which has defined a clear focus on sustainable tourism and a green future. Slovenia is the only country in Europe located between the Alps with a famous Lake Bled, the Mediterranean coast with the romantic Piran and Portorož, the Pannonian Plain rich with healthy springs, and the Karst with Europe's most visited underground marvel, Postojna Cave, or Škocjan Cave, UNESCO World Heritage Site. From everywhere, there is just a short distance to Ljubljana, the loveliest capital in the world, last year's European Green Capital. The amazing diversity in such a small area is one of Slovenia's biggest advantages, providing many opportunities for outdoor activities. We are lucky to live in a country rich with healthy waters. 15 spa resorts in Slovenia are known for their beneficial mineral and thermal water. Our natural resources improve quality of life and inspire fantastic tourist products. We appreciate more and more that Slovenia has preserved its clean drinking water. You can drink it from public fountains in every corner. We Slovenians sincerely love and cherish our natural and cultural treasures. Greenness is in the heart of Slovenian lifestyle. We have always one foot in the city and another in the nature. No matter how our professional life looks like, the majority of us are also home gardeners, animal lovers, or weekend mountain hikers. We are like hard-working bees at any given time, not by coincidence. A Slovenian pioneered modern apiculture in 19th century. Nowadays, the Carnolian bee, an indigenous Slovenian bee, is the second most expanded in the world. Slovenia submit a proposal for the proclamation of World Bee Day within the United Nations. Without bees, there is no harvest, no food security. Without strategy, there can be no proper action, and without proper action, there can be no experiences worth sharing. Now let me explain how we built our unique model of sustainability practice in tourism. We soon realized that natural wealth and a love of nature were not enough. We urgently needed a logical system that would unify the efforts for sustainable development. We did a lot of research, working together with experts to get the data and scenarios of the impacts of climate change. We identified the key measures for the key audiences to implement the sustainable practice and presented the results to the stakeholders in public, private and civil sectors in tourism. In 2012, we signed the Declaration for Green Partnership with all the stakeholders to protect our natural and cultural heritage, ensure better quality of life for our citizens, and offer a unique experiences for tourists. It was time to establish green tourism as the basic concept for development. We interconnected national policies, the local communities, and the business sector to recognize all the resources available to develop sustainable destinations. We encircled the process with two layers: proper education and communication. In the core of the identity, there was a love of nature and culture. Based on our competitive criteria, we set up the marketing positioning of Slovenia as green, active and healthy destination, which explains our brand, I Feel Slovenia. Then we needed a stronger tool to develop products that would deliver the promise of the brand. So 2 years ago, we developed our unique model, the Green Scheme of Slovenian Tourism, a national program for assessment and improving the sustainability of our destinations and providers. The scheme is based on 107 global criteria and allows international comparisons of sustainability. Slovenia Green becomes an essential part of the I Feel Slovenia brand. It supports a vision of a green boutique tourism. Slovenian Tourist Board manages the scheme with the help of our partners GoodPlace and Green Destinations. With the help of the scheme, we are creating authentic and sustainable products, incorporating green stories that reflect our identity. Slovenia Green serves as an example to the world. This is only possible because people working in tourism are willing to push the boundaries in the same way that we push them in sports, science, business, art and technology. And when a person's achievement is a source of national pride and a focus of global attention, bold visions can become a reality. National Geographic Travel asked, what happens to tourism when a whole nation goes green? And the jury found answer also in Slovenia. We are proud that we are among finalists for the National Geographic Swartz Legacy Award in category for destination leadership, aimed to reward environmental best practices, protection of cultural and natural heritage, benefits to local people, and educating travelers on sustainable tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, Our vision is 100% green Slovenia. Guided by our love of unspoiled nature, a common vision, and a culture of continuous improvement, we are moving tourism towards our ultimate national goal. Thank you very much, and feel Slovenia.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pak. To you and all the ladies present, also all the best for today's International Women's Day. In Slovenia, we're aware of the fact that a great deal of our prosperity is based on the traditionally high participation of women in the labor market, and Slovenia also has one of the lowest gender pay gap in the world. It's still a lot to be done, though, but we know that there is no sustainability without civil liberties, equality, justice, and peace. But back to tourism. Slovenian tourism currently represents 12% of national GDP and has gone through a remarkable transformation in recent years. Last year, Slovenia became the world's first country to be declared a green destination by the Netherlands-based organization with the same name, Green Destinations, by fulfilling 96% of the requirements of 100 criteria. In the same year, the city of Ljubljana successfully served as European Green Capital. Our next speaker of honor is the Minister of Economic Development and Technology in the government of the Republic of Slovenia, Mr. Zdravko Počivalšek. Please, Mr. Minister.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me wish you a warm welcome to the panel Slovenia Makes You Green. I'm very proud that Slovenia is convention and culture partner of the ITB Berlin, sharing our experience of green transformation. After 20 years of product and brand development, Slovenian tourism again achieved record results last year. Numbers of international arrivals increased by 11.4%. Slovenia is becoming more and more attractive, but no less green. This is possible because our goals go far beyond statistics. Growth in numbers demands responsibility of all stakeholders. Slovenia chose responsibility in policies and management as its mission on the way to become 100% green. Our most important responsibility is the quality of life for all citizens and visitors. That's why we wrote the fundamental right to drinkable water in the Constitution of Republic of Slovenia. I'm also very proud that we have been implementing responsible development in tourism with unique model of sustainability that can serve as a great example to the world. That's why it wasn't a surprise for me that Slovenia became the world's first green destination according to international platform Green Destination. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm personally connected to the nature, having a great privilege to live and work surrounded by forests, fields, and waters. They are my inspiration for overcoming challenges in personal and professional life. Our mission at the ITB is to make you feel, think, and act green, because we all need a responsibly directed vision of tomorrow. Thank you. Feel green.
Development and Technology of the Republic of Slovenia, Mr. Zdravko Počivalšek. Well, we're so proud of our beautiful nature in Slovenia, our healthy waters, deep forests, which cover almost 2/3 of the territory of Slovenia, our extraordinary biodiversity and green cities. But what really makes Slovenia a role model in sustainable tourism are the many personal green stories and achievements. And our panelists are all people with green hearts, and they're already on stage. And before the panel discussion starts, we will meet all of them in their local environment.
Meet the people with green hearts. Meet Slovenians.
old tale says that mythological horse Pegasus opened the spring of mineral water with the highest magnesium content in the world. Healthy waters make me feel green.
One of my greenest friends taught me a lot about nature. Like people, horses need fresh air, shelter, enough food and water. Luna is lucky in Slovenia.
I simply love 4 seasons in Slovenia, all different, full of weather, constantly changing. It's good to have water accessible at every step. It really feels so green.
Flying low altitude, taking photos of waters, measuring their temperature with thermographic camera is really something special. I can show people all beauty of nature and makes them believe in green future.
Relaxing in this library, designed by the architect Jože Plečnik, makes me feel green. He really understood water, trees, and recyclable materials as architectural elements, and today we all feel them as fellow inhabitants of green Ljubljana.
As a child, I spent all my free time outdoors, in close contact with nature and soil. I'm really grateful that I can work as a gardener, watching fruits and vegetables growing. Slovenia makes me green.
What is better than a sustainable journey? I love traveling by train, biking, or simply walking with my dog. My homeland feels like an energy booster. Let's go green!
Slovenia tells green stories. Slovenia makes you green. Hey, Igor in Berlin, last time you were there, you had terrible cramps. Still have them? Yeah, that was my Berlin marathon, but no pain, no gain. Anyway, see you in Slovenia. Dober tek. So, ladies and gentlemen, dober tek in Slovenian means 2 things. Either enjoy your meal, or bon appetit, or enjoy your running. And it's fine to run without cramps, I can tell you that. We Slovenians, we cannot live without moving around. It took Slovenia a lot of movement and efforts to make this green transformation and to develop a unique model of sustainable tourism, which is now becoming a study case all around Europe and the world. So how are we growing our green mentality among Slovenians? What is the contribution of Slovenia to the world, and what does it take to manage a green destination or green tourism product? And where do we want to go from this point on? I will discuss it with the panelists who are already introduced in the video, but in the end we will also open the discussion to the public. To our first panelist, Professor Dr. Lučka Kajfež-Bogataj, a very prominent professor for climatology at the University of Ljubljana and a very notable researcher on climate change. She shared the 2007 Nobel Peace Prize as a member of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change with the former US Vice President Al Gore. Well, Professor Bogataj, can you share with us your green experience? One of the key points is actually the education. So where do we stand in this regard in Slovenia, and what makes us so special when it comes to, let's say, green education?
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Nice question, Igor. Well, first of all, I'm a climatologist, but I'm also a professor, and I can really say that the part of our green story is education, starting from, for instance, eco schools. We have 21-year experience with eco schools, primary schools, secondary schools, which actually translates into the number of children, 200,000. 10% of population went through the schooling. Also, tourism is a subject in some schools. Then we have at least 3 high schools and also 2 university, tourism faculties at universities. So yes, it is education that is essential, but it was also backed up with media. Media, I think national television, for instance, played a major role because bringing tourism, sustainable tourism to the people's living rooms. But I would add also that Slovenians, we like to travel. and we are curious and with an open eyes, and we learn as we go. So I think the part of education was maybe also to see with a critical eye the tourism in other countries, learn from other mistakes and not to repeat them.
Our next guest is Mr. Mateusz Lenarčič. He has graduated in biology. He's also an alpinist, photographer, author, paraglider. He's very keen on protecting the environment, but he's also the winner of the 2013 World Aviator of the Year Award and hero of the 2016 Green Light World Flight mission, which combined scientific research and activities in environment. So, Mr. Lenarčič, could you explain to us, you fly around the world in ultralight planes, but you also, it is not only an adventure, and Slovenians are extremely adventurous people, not only you, but it was also meant to do a very significant scientific research. So how did you contribute, let's say, to this green awareness, not only in Slovenia, but around the world?
Hello, we are a Greenlight World Flight, a group of enthusiasts which are doing global research for mostly our own money. So we are really enthusiasts, and our research is how to detect black carbon, which is side product of all burnings, which is, by the way, caused by all of us, and show that this is the real problem of global climate change. So this is a problem on local level, regional and global level as well. So we would like to show simply that we have to limit our wishes, our desires. We have to be careful about our environment, and we have to care about our neighbors, and that's all what we want to show.
This mission was performed by you. You were the sole pilot. You flew around the world, so more than 40,000 kilometers, with the Slovenian know-how, with equipment which measured, as you said, the black carbon. What did you find out after analyzing this data?
Actually, we found out that the problem is really bigger than we thought before. So we all human beings cause the problem to our nature, so we have to limit it. And this is what nobody like to hear. Even our government don't want to hear this, because sometimes they're calling us eco-terrorists, because we are showing the problem, and this problem must be solved by our governments. And this is the problem because it costs money. So we are always in between our wishes about our ethics, morality, and about economic reality.
But it is good to have this awareness, and you're also raising awareness, and in the end, governments are elected by the people, so which is a good thing. Now we go on to Ms. Petra Stušek, who is the Managing Director of Ljubljana Tourism. As we said, Ljubljana was the European Green Capital last year, and also proud winner of the 2015 Destination Award of Tourism for Tomorrow by World Travel and Tourism Council. So, Ms. Stušek, Ljubljana is, let's say, a symbol of making this transition to a green destination. What are your particular experiences with transforming the capital city of Ljubljana, actually the only big city we have in the country of 2 million?
Good morning, or good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's not self-explanatory that the capital city is actually the, let's say, the greenest destination by the awards in the country, which is 60% covered by woods and has the high awareness of preserving the nature and the cultural natural heritage. The fact is that the municipality of Ljubljana, of course with authorities in general, and of course the tourism authorities, adopted this green thinking, let's say years ago, but in past 10 years, numerous sustainable solutions were adopted in the city or in the capital city, which were actually also very well adopted by locals. That was the key point. This focus on green solutions, like plan of zero waste, local experiences that are focusing in the capital city on nature and cleaner air and closing city center for traffic. These are all the solutions that were very well received by locals and by tourists. Of course, we strongly believe that if we locals feel good in our city, so will also our guests, our visitors. But this focus on green actually brought us this prestigious title of Green Capital of Europe. This focus on green put us on the international map of green destinations. And of course, this brought a lot of attention. It also brought new guests. The tourism was rising. And this is actually the point where we need to really consider how to manage tourism, and we are considering it, of course, very well, how to manage tourism in the capital city so it stays sustainable and friendly to locals and to our guests.
Yeah, we'll speak about the future a little bit later. Our next member of the panel is Dr. Jan Bizjak, holding a PhD in agronomy. He is a horticulturist and now presently a gardener in a very special garden village glamping resort in Bled, Slovenia. So Jan, could you tell us a little bit about your, let's say, green story? I mean, PhD in agronomy and now working as a gardener, someone would think, well, that's a downgrade, but it is?
Depends how is your attitude to that. That I can work as a gardener, that I take as a privilege, not as a, because today it's a problem that most of the very educated people, they don't have maybe the possibilities or they don't want to work with soil. But I learned in 15 years of working in gardening that you cannot learn and you cannot understand nature just by sitting in school desks. You have to work, you have to keep touch in the soil, and then you can understand some things. And also I have one big possibility that I can also educate our guests. I can make them aware, to make them more conscious, and encourage them also that they can then have their own gardens, because when you do something, then you appreciate. And this is one of things that not just working, but the attitude to working. So this is one of the...
Could you explain to us a little bit the concept of this garden village, which is quite, let's say, a role model for Slovenia, and of course is getting typical. It's being copy-pasted all over the place. So what's the concept when guests come to your garden village?
Yes.
Where do they live? How do they cooperate with you? What do you offer them?
Okay, one is sleeping in 3 houses in the 3 canopies.
So
this is
3 houses or 3 houses?
3 houses.
3 houses.
3 houses,
so yeah.
yes. In the canopies of trees.
Okay.
And another one of big special thing by us is that people can, on their vacation, they can pick fresh fruits. They can pick vegetables. Children are especially excited about that. They can just pull the carrots out of the soil. They can pick raspberries and so on. And also the guests that are very aware, that are interested in natural production, they can ask me for a lot of suggestions how to produce, because I don't use any chemistry, I don't use any fertilizers, just natural one. And then I can get them a lot of information, and this is one of big good things for them, So one is production of healthy food and using local food, and another is to make people aware, to make them conscious that they can also add some also at home when they produce it.
Okay, we're also joined by Ms. Jana Apih, the CEO of GoodPlace, the Institute for Sustainable Tourism, and one of the driving forces behind this green scheme under the joint umbrella of Slovenia Green Consortium. So Ms. Apih, we heard a lot of personal takes. You're the one who actually made this story a joint one. What is your experience after, let's say, this decade of transformation? the point where we stand now, how satisfied are you with our present being? And now we start also looking into the future. How do you see the development of this green destination?
Thank you for the question, and hello to everybody. Yeah, well, I'm actually very proud to live in a country where I would say that our government in many steps already realized the problems which was already before addressed, and that we decided on the national level that we need a program which will, on tourism sector, bring together all the will which is there, which is present there. On the, if you see all the national, local, regional strategies, they all say we will develop a sustainable tourism, and that we developed together a system which actually helps them go on this way, because the green scheme of Slovenia, of Slovenian tourism, Slovenia Green, is actually a tool which destinations and suppliers can use to make their destination or their offer more sustainable. It's actually a way how to work and how to develop it. And I'm really extremely happy that we have such a big number of destinations and suppliers joining that. We have by now already 18 destinations who got the certificate of Slovenia Green. We have 11 suppliers, and we have more than 20 destinations on the way. So I think this is a number which shows that there is a will, and if there is a will, there is always a bright future ahead of us, I'm sure of that. And this is why I think that Slovenia Green and the program which the Slovenian Tourist Board is carrying out is really having a lot of attention on the international podium.
But where do you see Slovenia Green, let's say, in 10 years? Now, we are now concluding, let's say, the first decade, which actually was focused on the transformation, which was easy because we have the public awareness, we have the experts, we have the stories, but where do you see Slovenia Green, let's say, in 10 years' time?
Well, I definitely see it, if we say now that this is, in many ways, when it comes to destinations, this is a starting point. We are checking where we are. And we have not only bright, but also spots which we need to address. Mm-hmm. And where we see us is that the number of gold destinations will really go up in Slovenia. And that means that destinations and suppliers will work together on this green path. And that not only that from out of these destinations and suppliers, we will have a number of green experiences, which is something that we can offer then to the tourists. Mm-hmm. And this is how they can appreciate it. So this is, I think this is a path, and we are now in ground, let's say 3, and we are approaching numbers up. And in 10 years, we will get up to the 10 and the 100% green, which was already mentioned before.
Okay. Ms. Tušek, when it comes to Ljubljana, you mentioned before that the figures when it comes to tourism went up. So you're probably, let's say, the first Slovenian destination which has to think about somehow limiting numbers and let's say also a little bit adapting the offer for people coming to Ljubljana, which is very crowded. We're very proud of it because before Ljubljana was so sleepy, especially on weekends, and in the evening now it's completely different. It's a very lively city, especially in the city center. So what is your focus when it comes to Ljubljana for the future? What are, let's say, the main focus points you would like to emphasize?
We that work in Ljubljana tourism are, of course, professionals, but also very enthusiastic about how developing and creating the Ljubljana tourism offer. We don't actually believe in limiting tourism because we don't believe that it's possible to limit it, but it is possible to address it the certain ways. And it's very necessary to manage it the right way. We as local authorities will, or at least we hope or we believe in not being measured, our success, not being measured by the number of statistics going up, but with the satisfaction of locals and the tourists. And after all, the happy tourists actually spend money, they make a consumption. So this is what actually we need to be measured by. That's why we are, with all this international attention on green destination brings us, of course, as I said earlier, more tourists, but it also brings a lot of creativity in thinking of a new tourism products that are in the capital city connected to the nature. For example, in Ljubljana, you can do stand-up paddling and see the city from this river level perspective, or we have in the city beehive trail, so you can go from one beehive to another in the capital city again. We are very emphasizing these kind of things and are proud of them. So that's how we actually more think of limiting, and of course using our cultural heritage in a way that for example, our greatest architect, Jože Plečnik, whose year is just this year, we have a couple of anniversaries of his. He used to be already 70, 80 years ago, very sustainable oriented, thinking of the exclusively making or building with local elements, his architectural masterpieces, and we are guiding people also outside of the city center on the bikes to his masterpieces, telling all this sustainable story, because we really, really believe in all this.
Yeah, so Ljubljana is also very famous for the architecture of Jože Plečnik, the one who actually did the restoration of the Prague castle and was very active, of course, in Vienna too. So he's, let's say, our most important and mostly outspoken architect. So this will be the focus. In Ljubljana, Jan, when it comes to Garden Village, are there any limits you have? Will you be able to attract more and more tourists? Also, where would you, let's say, set up the point where you would reconsider your present model?
Yeah, when we also built Garden Village, we try to not to push in the nature. We adopted nature. We put the houses on the trees. We didn't cut them. So yeah, we are limited by water, by clean water around, and then that's why we don't want to spread. We just want those guests. We don't have a lot of capacity. We just have for 80 guests. But we try that we offer them something special. So local food, and then also a possibility, then also I making them aware to, also to be gratitude for that. Not just to have massive tourism, because Slovenia has a lot of beauties. It has a lot of them, but sometimes we forget on these beauties, and then enthusiastic tourists come and makes them aware of them. So I think that beside beauties and beside our awareness, we have to be gratitude for that, because when you are gratitude, then you appreciate what you have. So yeah, we don't maybe intend to spread, but also to offer something different. And this it is also for children's, for example. I have one garden just for children's, because I had really luck when I was a boy. When I was in my childhood, I live on a farm. Most of the children are not possible to live in the farm now. In our country, maybe yes, but in other big countries in Europe, and this is very important, because if you have close contact with soil, with animals, with plants, only in the childhood, then your love just grows more and more through the years. So that's why I really feel like a privilege that I can work in the nature and encourage other people about that. And this is one of philosophy also in our resort, not just to offer something, but also to give people awareness.
Yes, so you actually teach people to live with nature, but you also learn from them, at least by feeling the gratitude to live in a country like this.
It was one interesting stuff, snails, for example, these red snails that are a big mess for us. Some people from Tokyo, when they don't see any animal, when they are just building, they are delighted about them. They make up pictures from 10 sites, This is one of, and for example, in our restaurant we offer local food, that we produce it also, and rucola, for example, a rocket. During the summer, when it's hot, the rucola is more vulnerable. So it's attacked by the insect. And if you want to eat natural rucola during the summer, then it has these holes inside. It looks like sweet cheese, like Swiss cheese, you know. And that's why when I make our guests aware that this is because I don't treat it, they still eat it. Also by the apples, you know, some of them have gas inside, namely worms. But when you get aware people, to be more focused on the content, not on the outlook, to the quality, not on the quantity, this is what I feel like my mission, you know. And I have a big possibility because we have a lot of guests from all over the world.
So we learned two things. When you see enthusiastic people from Japan celebrating the red snails from Slovenia, they have been in the garden village of Bled. And the second thing is there are two ways of rocket science. One is to fly to the moon, and the other is to ask Jan about when to eat proper rocket. We come back to Mr. Lenarčič. We spoke about awareness and how much is still to do when it comes to preserving our country. How do you see Slovenia? Because when you're not only an aviator, but you're also a paraglider, you're a mountaineer. So how does, for Slovenia, for you, Slovenia looks from above?
It looks very small because when I fly, I have to be careful to stay in between the borders. So you can easily go abroad. And,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we are very small, but all the planet is very small. We are not aware of how small actually and fragile actually it is. And this is the absolutely problem. We are educated, we are put in the world in two dimensions, and we cannot see reality from maybe from above, from a side, or from whatever, and our knowledge is limited. And I would like to show the people that we are living in a beautiful place, and that place is very fragile, and we have to be care of it. And the green tourism is always to a certain level, so we have to be aware of this level, and if you go over this level, it's not green anymore. So we have to be careful, we have to limit our greed, and that's all about us.
So you beautifully said that, beautiful but fragile, but at least we have a very good outlook on that, because we climb mountains, we fly with ultralight planes around the world, ultralight planes which are also produced in Slovenia, and you come from a region where we actually have the highest industrial chimney in Europe, which is now used for tourist purposes. Everybody can climb it too. To conclude our, let's say, formal part of the panel, before we give you the possibility to ask questions, I would like to conclude with Professor Kajfež Bogataj. Well, what is your take on the future? Because we heard that Slovenia is somehow special. It is small, it is beautiful, it has a lot of wood, it had a lot of natural resources, especially fresh drinking water, which is really getting more and more important. But what Jan said is striking. We still are different because we have a very, very big rural part, so most of the Slovenians do not live in cities, and we have only small cities, including Ljubljana, which is the biggest. So it tells us an interesting story that we are really blessed by our natural resources. But when you put this into the context of the climate change, what can we do better?
Yeah, that's something that will be extremely important when we talk about the future. I think that Slovenian tourism did recognize climate change on one part of the coin, which is mitigation. So we try to be green, we try to be energy more efficient. But we somehow completely forgot about adaptation. Because you just take winter season, it is obvious that snow is gone when we talk about destination below 1,000 meters. But I'm afraid we still invest in some locations when it's clearly not going to be easy to maintain ski tourism in the winter. There's also a problem with nature is not just beautiful, but it can be dangerous. We all know that climate change increases the frequency of extreme events. And we are not resilient enough in Slovenia, and this can be a handicap if we don't change our tourist policy, but not just in tourism, it's in general way of life. Because what makes Slovenian tourism green, and was not mentioned by my colleague, is also that Slovenia is an extremely safe country. Because you cannot be green in the countries where you have tensions and, I don't know, threats of terrorism and things like that. And also part of a green is also the role of women, which is, I guess, in Slovenia, not underestimated. Actually, when I visited Slovenia's corners here, they're mostly nice-looking ladies and very efficient as well. So yeah, I'm a bit worried about not adapting to the future, which will not only bring climate change, but it will probably bring less security. We can see the political leaders of today, they are almost starting the Cold War again, which will affect tourism in the future if we don't change our attitude in general, not just to be more green regarding to the nature, but to be much more green among ourselves, attitude to human.
Yeah, but having this decade of experience, knowing where the problem lies, adapt to the situation, address the problems, that gives us perhaps a big advantage on others, and also, of course, the natural resources we have, and we also would like to cherish even more, and also to share this in a very smart and sustainable way with our guests. So now we have the floor open to you, to your questions. We have wonderful hostesses who have also the microphones. Is there anybody who would like to ask questions to our panelists? Yes, we hear a gentleman with a nice beard, very sustainable.
Hello, my name is Alex Christou from Green Corfu, from Greece. We have a small travel agency. Greece, as you know, has a lot of problems. One of the problems we have with tourism is a limited season. The basic season in Greece is July and August. And I would like to ask you what the tourist season is in Slovenia, and if going green changed that.
Okay, Ms. Apih, that's, I guess, a question for you.
Yeah, well, Slovenia, of course, on some destinations in Slovenia, we also face seasonality, but I think that still being in the heart of Europe and having a product which is rather spread, for example, in Ljubljana, we don't see that, but in some mountain areas or maybe by the coast, of course. This is also one of the activities which are part of, let's say, Slovenia Green as well, because as I said before, destinations through the process realize where the issues are, and regarding to the issues, they have to have an action plan, how they will address different issues. And on occasions where we see the seasonality is also a problem, they're developing more and more activities and products which address other parts of the year, so that we try to spread the number of tourists around the year. Because of course, when the numbers of tourists go up and they produce a number of problems in the environment or in the nature, it is very important that you spread them and that you still attract them, not lose them because of that, and that you develop the products which are then based around the year. For example, in Slovenia, we are very strong on the health resorts, which are, again, a product which works throughout the year. So yeah, this is something what we are aware of, and a number of destinations is developing a number of products which address that issue.
So, Ms. Dušek, could you tell us when the best time is to come to Ljubljana, or have you managed to spread, let's say, this seasonal thing?
Of course, I have to tell the truth that it's the best time in warmer months, meaning between May and end of October, but also December. And yes, we are, we sort of, I wouldn't say managed, but are managing it. For example, that January and February were traditionally really the lowest months, and then November as well. And each year, here the statistics does count. Each year we have, for example, last year we had January 10% more overnight stays. This year even more than 10% overnight stays. It's what my colleague Jana said. We are actually thinking of how to put the new content, new indoor content, new events that are linked to our heritage, emphasizing our, cultural wealth and so forth. And this attracts people.
Jan, you're commanded by the nature, of course.
Yeah, I can say to you, we have a season from April till the end of October, so till November. But maybe this is not just a disadvantage. Maybe this is in one case also advantage, because during the winter we can do improvements, we can have brainstorming, we can think what to improve, what to offer more, So, for example, now we do water heating in the houses, in the tents. I plant new trees and that's on. So we try what limitations you have, that you adopt them, not to go over them. So maybe this is also one of the possibilities.
Yeah, and the soil has to rest, and in winter you can do skiing, which is also one of our national sports.
Yes, we can also rest the employees.
Unfortunately, you cannot do skiing on Corfu. Okay, next question. Yes, the gentleman. Just a moment for a microphone.
Albert Salman, Green Destinations. The story and the success of making Slovenia a green destination is wonderful. How can we make this an example for other destinations to follow? Because green Slovenia, great, but a green world, green tourism worldwide would be even better. How can you help us?
Okay, Jana, so how can we spread it?
We are working on that.
Yeah?
We have a number of invitations from other countries around, especially around Europe, seeing the example what we did, and they want to learn from us, which we are very happy to share our experiences. So feel free, and we are happy to share our experience, and I know that the tourist board is as well. So I think that this green movement is something which is in Slovenia. We saw it how it grew, but it's growing also around, especially around Europe and as well otherwise. So I think that with good examples, it's always giving people the confidence that it can be done and that there are ways, and I think that's the right attitude then.
But there is, of course, one precondition, that you first come to Slovenia to see it and to experience it, and then, of course, try to do it at home. We still have time for one question. Do we have a volunteer? I don't see anybody, which is good, so we answer.
Can I say just something also for that? For example, in our place, when now Garden Village is, there was abandoned garden place for 8 years, nothing alive. But then one man come, this owner that built it, with different thinking. He saw what others saw, but he think something different, how to make something new, because Garden Village in Slovenia was something new 4 years ago. Now there are some places that also do it, So when we see something, then it's important to think different, and then we can do something new, and then this is
what can people definitely learn from Slovenians is out-of-the-box thinking, in good and in bad things. But let's put aside the bad things, out-of-the-box thinking. Welcome to Slovenia. Perhaps let's take Petra.
Apart from welcome to Slovenia, welcome to Ljubljana.
Okay. That was very professional.
But just before that, I would actually add something to what Mr. Albert raised. Is our experience, let's say local capital experience, capital cities experience, which would have to go, or is going on national level in Slovenia as well, but would have to go everywhere. you need to have constant conversation with all the stakeholders, but really important thing is that everywhere the authorities really understand what it means, what tourism actually means, how to properly develop it, not that just that they're saying, but that they really understand us. We do have luck that our mayor does understand us. After all, he's here somewhere at the ITB experience because he really understands it. And this is what is important. You know, if you go from local level to national level, the minister is here as well, for example, and everywhere you need the support from top down, but also from bottom up, because the locals need to share your story as well. If you tell the truth, the locals will tell the truth, everyone else will believe it. You know, so that's how we actually are thinking of how we are creating our tourism.
And there's one big secret with Slovenians, because they really love complaining, so they're never satisfied. And this is a driving force which drives us mad sometimes, but also strive us and helps us to be better and never satisfied what we achieve. Last word by you, Jana.
Well, thank you. There is a lot of last words always, but
I mean, not literally. Nobody wants to die today, but
no, I didn't feel it like that. Yeah, well, I was just like to say that, especially what Albert already said and Petra, that I think that the most important part or the first step is that you always realize it, that which is the direction that you want to go, and there is always a path to find it, how to do it. And I think that we have a number of good examples of finding that path, and I'm happy that Slovenia is doing a good job on that, and that the Slovenia Green works as a green path to our green future.
Mateusz, your take? When will you fly the world again?
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still young, so I have a lot of time. And what I learned from flying is that airplane does not fly if the forces are not in balance. So we have to be all in balance. We have to control our lives so our planets will stay in balance, and that's most important, I think. So we have to control our greed.
That's one of the messages also from Slovenia. Thank you very much. And as you may know by now, the last word in Slovenia always goes to a woman. So, Professor Kajfež-Bogataj.
Yes, well, I like that thinking out of the box, but I prefer systematic thinking, system thinking. You know, you cannot talk about climate, tourism on separate things or not on the nature. So I really pray that decision makers, politicians will sort of think more broad, not so sectorial. And of course, I cannot go out of my skin, as we say, as a professor. I think that's extremely important also that tourism supports research in many ways, because new climate is something we don't have experience. We have to do thorough research. So please do not forget that science can help, especially in unforeseen situations. That would be my message.
So thank you very much to all the panelists. And you, of course, have the possibility to talk to them also, let's say, in a more informal way after our event, which is now being concluded. Last but not least, we would like to invite you to take a present from Slovenia with you while leaving the room. It was made by the famous Slovenian Carniolan honeybee. It's a very special bee, gentle, non-aggressive, persistent, and used to live in populated areas, and that's why they produce a very special honeybee, and of course the bee pollen powder, which has also very, very positive effects on you. And the Republic of Slovenia, on the initiative of the Slovenian Beekeepers Association, proposed to the United Nations to declare May 20 a World Bee Day, because to honor the birthday of Anton Janša, the pioneer of modern beekeeping, who lived in 18th century. So thank you very much. We wish you a very pleasant stay here at ITB Berlin. And bear in mind that Slovenia has been, you heard that, shortlisted for the prestigious National Geographic World Legacy Awards in the category of Destination Leadership. The winner will be announced today at 4 o'clock at ITB. Our rivals are Kenya and the United States of America. So thank you very much on behalf of Slovenia, the conventional and culture partner of ITB Berlin 2017. You are kindly invited to visit the I Feel Slovenia stand in the Hall 17 and the Slovenia Green stand of the Adventure and Responsible Travel section at Hall 4.1. And you're also very welcome to visit the Corporate Social Responsibility and Tourism Day on Friday, where a discussion will be held on climate change with Professor Kajfež Bogataj and also with Mr. Mateusz Lenarčič from 12:30 on in the New York 3 room very close by. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and feel Slovenia and come to visit us and study the really good case of Slovenia Green. Goodbye.
North too. Thank you very much for a wonderful and enthusiastic green presentation from our convention and culture partner Slovenia. I have learned a lot, and I must say this was, in my view, the best choreography that I've ever seen in a panel session. That was just wonderful how you did this. So the synchronization with your digital presentation. And I remember you saying something while you were flying and talking up there, you were saying something in between, so that was well done. Personally, I would be really interested in your personal best in the Berlin Marathon, but we'll talk about that privately. I must, though, disagree with one statement, and I believe that you guys are definitely not complaining more than we Germans are. He said they picked it up from us Germans. I believe that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.